Look, thank you very much for having me. It's actually a real pleasure to be here today, and I can say that sincerely because my aforementioned wife actually works in public health. She's actually a dietitian. Actually, she's sitting in the room. She's a dietitian and she's done a lot of school nutrition over the years, but often in our careers we've been on opposite sides of the fence. So I've been doing something for Nestle on Alphabet Smarties or Cocoa Pops. At the same time, she's doing something on childhood obesity on the other side. So it's actually really wonderful for once to be on the same side of the fence. The other reason I'm enjoying this today is it's the first time I ever have, and possibly the last time I ever will, start a presentation with Kermit the Frog. There's a very good reason I'm going to start with Kermit the Frog, and some of you may have, if you were looking at the screen earlier, seen my secret answer. But I have a question, which is where did Kermit first appear on TV? So he's the only puppet to transcend both the Muppets and Sesame Street. A little bit of trivia there. But where did he first appear on TV? Sesame Street or the Muppets? Okay, so you weren't really watching the screen earlier. That's good, because the answer, 100% trick question, is C. It was neither. It was a TV commercial. I did have a little video there for you to play. Unfortunately, the video is not working today. I was told it was a technical glitch. I think it's just so I speak a bit quicker and we keep to schedule. But it was actually an ad for McGarry's Sausages, and it was an early version of Kermit, black and white, and a little bit of slapstick going on. And I wanted to make this point because Jim Henson, who created Kermit the Frog and all the Muppets, and he also created the characters for Sesame Street for 2 decades. For 20 years, Jim Henson worked in advertising. So he did ads, and his ads used animation, or they used puppets, and they used slapstick, and they used jingles, and all those things we saw in the Muppets. And what happened was kids would run to the TV to watch these ads. This is back in the 60s. They would run to the TV to watch the ads, they would run down the street, and they were singing his jingles. These are jingles about sausages and coffee. This is not really healthy stuff. But 2 television producers saw what was going on, and they went to the US federal government and they asked for a grant to make a TV program. Because they thought if kids are reacting this way to these commercials, maybe they can use this engagement level it's got and actually use it for education. The government gave them a grant, and that grant became a show called Sesame Street. So Sesame Street was the first one. And that's what I want to try and do today, is look at how we can use the powers of evil, advertising, for good, which is bright, healthy and happy kids. It makes me wonder though that maybe the title today is not so much thinking like our customers, but thinking like the people who think like our customers. I'm not a child psychologist and I'm not a 14-year-old student, so it's easier for me to get into the heads of these guys. And these sorts of guys, they've already done the hard work. They've done the trial and error. And that's a lot of what advertising is. It's not an exact science. It's a lot of companies just trying different things. The other thing it's not a bunker of evil psychologists sort of plotting together to get inside children's heads. Not that I've experienced, maybe in Eastern Europe or somewhere, I'm not sure, but I've not experienced that. It's a lot of companies, and they're desperate and they're a bit paranoid because things are changing so fast and they're trying different things. If we'd done this talk about 10 years ago, it would have been a much quicker chat because the marketing landscape was much more constrained back then. There wasn't that much that you could do in marketing terms. If you look at it today, it's more like this. Every one of those is a media channel or a way to get a message out there. There's a lot to look at. The days of Coca-Cola just doing a TV ad and a billboard and a sticker on the fridge at the local store are long gone. I mean, don't get me wrong, they'll still do that, but now you get your name on a Coke. I'm sure you all saw that promotion last summer or the summer before. The thing is, getting your name on a Coke was one bit. That was trying to get you to tweet about it or Facebook about it. There was all these sorts of things going on behind the scenes, and that's been the big shift in advertising, is all this stuff going on behind the scenes. Good news for you, because it means there's a lot of things you can sort of try and steal, essentially. The tricky thing is, though, that it's all getting very high-tech, and it's all getting very expensive. But I think there's a way around that. And I just want to look at 3 of those things today, all out of this. Gamification, receptivity planning, and big data. Okay, they have terrible names. They're awful names. Marketers love to make up buzzwords and nonsensical things, and the irony is a lot of it is quite traditional thinking, or things that are already out there, they're just repackaged in a different way. But these are the 3 things that are getting talked about a lot, and they're getting talked about for good reason, because they're delivering big results. They're really working, and the reason working, there's 2 reasons that they're doing so well. One is they're improving targeting absolutely significantly. These days, it's about getting the right message to the right person at the right time. I was going to do a bit of an experiment, but maybe I know this time's a little tricky. It's one you can do at home. If you've got a smartphone, an iPhone, or one of the snazzy Samsung Galaxies, or you can do it on a desktop computer. If you go to a web page, say yahoo.com.au, and you go to that page at exactly the same time as the person right beside you, there'll be an ad on that page. Oh, someone's doing that. That's all right. There'll be an ad on that page for both of you, but it will be a different ad. Okay? What's going on is, Yahoo in this case, or Google, or wherever it is they know what you're looking at on the internet most of the time. So they'll look at the things you're searching for in Google, and if you're looking for a house and you've been searching for houses, surprise, you get an ad about domain.com.au. That's just the tip of the iceberg. I think you'd be amazed at what's going on behind the scenes to make sure you get the right ad at the right time. And it's not even limited to what it is, it's what time of day you're looking at the internet. They also know your IP address, which means they know roughly where you live. Not your house, maybe not your street, but they know geographically your suburb. Okay, this is going on, and it's a little bit Big Brother, but it's all about advertisers trying to improve the odds of winning. It doesn't always get it right, so I've been doing a lot of searching on Google about tuck shops. So Google thinks I'm now a 35-year-old stay-at-home mum. And I'm getting ads for things like head loss. But do not need that science. The other reason it's getting big results is they're going beyond advertising. There are campaigns now that don't have a single ad in them. Does everyone remember when Oprah came to Australia? And now Ellen DeGeneres is coming to Australia. Okay. Before that, they tried traditional advertising. They turned up to Baz Luhrmann's palace, gave him a wheelbarrow full of money and said, make an ad. And he made a beautiful ad about coming to Australia. They ran it in America and it didn't work. So what happened was the ad agency and M&C Saatchi got together. M&C Saatchi is the ad agency, and Tourism Australia got together and thought, what can we do to get Americans to come here? Together they came up with the idea of let's bring Oprah to Australia. There wasn't a single ad, yet it worked. If you look at the figures, and the figures that can be trusted, it's worked. Even though the dollar is high, the number of Americans coming to Australia has shot up since Oprah came, and that's why they're doing it again with Ellen DeGeneres. Okay? Advertising with no advertising. That's the way it's going. I had an example to show you again, and it was one a little bit closer to home than Oprah because it was about education. I'll just have to describe it quickly. In New York, the Hispanic and African American school kids in New York City and Manhattan don't do very well in school compared to the other kids. So the idea they had was to actually give them all a free mobile phone. So here's a free mobile phone for every kid. Okay, that's controversial to begin with. The way they got minutes on that phone, and the only way they could get minutes to talk and to text, was by attendance and grades. The better they did at school and the more they attended, the more minutes they got to talk on their phone. Okay? Apparently incredibly successful. Long term, I'm not so sure. But it's a great example of an ad campaign that didn't have a single ad in it. It was an operational solution, and that's what a lot of advertisers are moving towards. It's also a perfect example of the first one I want to talk through, which is gamification. Okay, what the hell is gamification? It's a very good question. The official definition, I guess, is using game thinking or game mechanics in a non-game context. So what does that mean? It means taking something that's not really a game and turning it into a sort of a game. Education is not a game, but they turned it into a bit of a game. And the way you do it is you ascribe the things that you find in game like points. So you get good grades, you get points. Levels, a lot of computer games, you go up in levels. You reach the end of a stage, you go up to another level. If anyone's played Angry Birds, and I know some of you have, you go up in levels in Angry Birds. Leaderboards, the other aspect of gaming is to compare scores. The notion of a high score, or the notion of a benchmark to see how you're doing against other people. Competition. Okay, there's an inherent human need for some competition. It doesn't have to be mean-spirited competition. Sometimes it's just friendly competition, or it's you against a benchmark. This is another aspect of gaming. And access. Games, a lot of times you achieve a certain thing, or you get a certain score, you get access to a special area or special content. Let me give you some examples that might bring it into better relief. Who here's got the Flybuys card or the Woolworths equivalent? Okay, just about everyone does. Okay. You're taking part in a really early and rudimentary form of gamification. Shopping is not a game, it's a transaction. Yet you go in, you give your card, you're a member of this thing, and you get points or you get discounts of dollars off. The other thing they did recently, last year I think, was they put My 5 in with Dawn French, where you get to choose the 5 things you want your discounts on. That's another level of gamification, because control is a big factor, feeling like you're in control of what's going on. Very early, and you can only barely call it gamification in the modern sense. A slightly more modern version, or a more evolved version, I guess, is Qantas frequent flyers. Because what that does is you get points, obviously, but Qantas brings levels into it. So you start at bronze, if you get enough points you go to silver, and to gold, and to platinum. So there's something to aim for, and there's goals along the way. The other thing it does is it creates a leaderboard in a way, not officially, but if anyone's travelled recently, there's those god-awful Qantas luggage tags. They're quite big and they're quite bulky, and they let the world know that I'm a gold or I'm a platinum member. So you're allowing people to broadcast their score in a sense. But even more interestingly, that shot there on the right, it's a little bit dark, is the check-in counter. So if you're gold or above on Qantas, you get to check in at your own special little gate. You're letting the world know that you've done pretty well at this game. Of course, it can also mean just turning something literally into a game. So if anyone's got a kid and an iPad, you'll know exactly what I mean. There's no such thing as just spelling and maths anymore. There's things like reading eggs. Everything becomes a game, and reading eggs works because it's animated, it's fun, and there's different levels. You start here, you do enough, you unlock the next level, and the next level, and the next level. So that's bringing gamification to education. If anyone watched the cricket last summer, Vodafone got on board. I love test match cricket, but I understand it's boring as all hell. Vodafone got in with this idea, this app, where you can vote on things, and the vote comes up in real time. So you feel like you're part of something, you're part of a community, and you're seeing the score as it happens. It makes cricket a bit more interesting. And this is why I think it can work in a tuck shop format. If you look on the right there, I mean, the definition on the left is all the reasons why gamification works from a psychological point of view. The interesting one, I think, is on the right. It makes not fun things a bit more fun. Okay? In marketing terms, there are things with intrinsic value, where they're just fun to do, and if you try it once, it's good, and it's great, and it's enjoyable. And there are things which aren't so much fun to do. Unfortunately, healthy options tend to fall on the right, whether it's applying sunscreen or eating healthier. The intrinsic value in that isn't so great, especially for kids. Because when you're older, you know you should eat healthy, and you enjoy eating healthy because it makes you feel better. Try telling that to a 15-year-old boy, it doesn't compute. I know that parents are actually a big decision maker. When they're younger, the parents making all of the decisions, and even when they're older, parents are an influencer. But parents are working to a slightly different value set sometimes. Tuck shop's a bit of a treat, and they don't want their child to be the one to miss out on the treat. So you've got two things going on there, which mean a healthy option maybe isn't the most enjoyable option. Gamification lets you supplement that with a bit of creative enjoyment. So it makes the not fun aspect of choosing the healthy option a little bit more fun. I'm going to look at an example from a tuck shop point of view, and there's two caveats I want to make here. The first one is, I finished school in 1991, and my daughter started prep this year in 2013. So that's 22 years I've been out of the loop on tuck shops. I'm going to get some things wrong. I've done as much homework as I can, I've tried to come up to speed, but I'm conscious that tuck shops are probably very different today than they were in my day. I'm also conscious in doing the research, just the massive diversity in tuck shops. From a cash till, and literally writing down figures, to some of you using swipe cards and digitised versions and things like that. So when I'm doing examples, they're just examples. And I'm going for the simplest, most low-tech version. If you're in a high-tech tuck shop, that's great, you can probably scale it up. So, first example I'm going to give you. Okay, coffee cards. We've all used them, you've probably got dozens with one stamp on them sitting in your personal wallet. The thing about coffee cards is they work. That's why they get used. And I know some tuck shops have trialled a coffee card system. That's not where I think we should stop, because that kind of time isn't really gamification, it's just a basic form of loyalty. Take it to the next level. So this is something we did for a shopping centre client of ours, Bayside in Melbourne. They have a food court. They wanted to get people to the food court for longer term, so rather than doing a one-off promotion, which will get people in, they wanted something that would engage them over 6 months. So we gave them this idea of, it's a simple coffee card mechanic. On the back of those, you buy a certain number of meals, you get a free meal. We gave them the idea of having tiered sections, and there's no technology involved. You fill up one card, you take it to the customer service desk, you fill up the green one, then you get the pink one. On the pink one, the rewards are better and they're more frequent. You fill up the pink one, you get the gold one. The gold rewards are even better than the pink one and they're more frequent. So once you're engaged, you stay engaged, and you can stay engaged long term. Where I think it's interesting though from a school tuck shop point of view is in what those rewards are. We use freebies. I don't know how valuable that is to school kids. I mean, maybe saving a bit of money is important. When the parents are buying, I don't know, does $3.50 make a difference? I think we can have more fun and be truer to the spirit of gamification with some other options. So status, just on its own, we know status works with young kids. They go mad for stickers, they go mad for feeling like they're in a special club. Maybe all you need to do is change the colour of the card. If you're looking at older kids, imagine stealing Qantas's idea of the separate check-in, and I don't know if this works with social inclusion policies. But if you had your own window, well, staffing's okay. All you have to do is when you're serving this window and someone turns up with their gold card, sorry, I have to go on service. Happens to us at Qantas. The other thing you can do with this level of gamification is you can adjust it as you go. So if you're getting a stamp every time you buy a green meal based on smart choices, on certain days you can double the stamp. So if you've got, let's say Tuesday is a terrible day, no one buys touch up on a Tuesday. On Tuesday you can offer double stamps, and you can do that as you're going. It's been going down, so you put it out in the newsletter, you put it out in the school Facebook page, double stamps. You might get a few more kids there and buy them a healthy option. You can also attach it to certain meals. If there's a healthy meal that's reasonably popular, that's doing well, give that particular meal double points, and it might be enough to just push it up to become the popular meal. Maybe it will overtake sausage rolls. The other thing is with gamification, you can do short-term goals and long-term goals. So these are short-term goals along the way. Maybe you can make it add up to something at the end of the year. I don't know that big kids would be so impressed, but the little kids getting a wrap named after you, that would be kind of fun. So the little kid who's eaten the most healthy meals, they get the wrap named after them for next year. Not necessarily the right examples, just examples. You guys know your schools, you've got tuck shops, and I know you're pressed for time. I know that's the biggest factor, time and resources and staffing. So these are just suggestions. Maybe you can take away, maybe you can play with it. The other thing I want to look at next is receptivity marketing. Probably the wankiest, if I can say that term, of all. What is it? It's leveraging the environment, circumstances, and people's state of mind. Okay, the best way to explain this is probably through examples, but if you think of it in terms of, if I know where you are, or I know what you're looking at, or I know what you're thinking, I'm one step ahead, and I can tailor my message to suit that and maybe amplify the strength of that message. Examples, so these are the different things I'm going to go through, but we'll go through it one by one. Path to purchase is the first thing I want to look at, and it's probably the easiest to comprehend. It's a concept in advertising known as the last 6 feet, and it's called that because that's the time when you make a decision to what you're going to buy sometimes. What are the masters at it? Supermarkets are the masters at it. When you look at some of the things they do, it gets quite interesting. The staples, so milk, everyone needs milk, so you go in to buy milk. How often do you just walk out with just milk? Very rarely. You put it at the back of the supermarket, it's IKEA. Has anyone been to IKEA? Okay, you know what I mean. You can't go through IKEA without walking past everything. And supermarkets know 40% of what you buy is an impulse purchase, not what you intended to buy. So if you can get people past things, chances are they'll pick up something, and you're just putting it in front of them. The other thing, that bottom picture there, is the end of the aisle. That's where the sales go, right? If things are on special. Not always. Often if you go to the back of the supermarket, the things that are on the front there, they're not on special. It's just that particular brand paid to have them there. And companies pay a fortune to get good positioning. The right eye level, the right place, near the checkout, worth a lot of money. That bottom right one there, beside the fine, is not the best picture, but that's up at the till. And yes, you're absolutely right. All those little things from chocolate to chapstick, little incidental buys, that's right, they put them there and they monitor what's being sold and they monitor how it's going constantly. Supermarkets aren't the only one. We've seen IKEA, but if you go to a Rebel Sport, they're doing a similar thing. If you go to a surf shop, you get to the counter, it's all those little things. They're not so expensive, but they're not so cheap. But interestingly, it's not just bricks and mortar retailers doing it anymore. If you go on the internet, you're going to be exposed to this. If you go to Amazon to buy a book, you can't leave Amazon without them going, hey, what about this book? The thing is, more than the supermarket, Amazon know what you're buying. They know what you like, they know what you search for. So they're not just putting up any random thing and taking a shot. They're improving their odds by taking a shot at something they know you might like. And you know what? It's getting even more full on than that. Because now you don't even have to go into a store. That bottom one there with the phone, Bluetooth and near-field technology, which are getting quite big at the moment. And if you go to shopping centres now, you notice they have apps that you can download onto your phone. You might notice a bit of this coming through. You could be walking past the coffee shop, not even intending to go in, and your phone will buzz. And on your phone will be a message saying, hey, how about a coffee? And do you know what? If you bought a coffee there before, they might even know what coffee you like. How about that flat white? It's all about improving their odds. How can we use it for the touch shop? Really, really obvious one. And I know some of you are probably doing this. I know many of you use special boards and things like that. You've got your own path to purchase. When kids are standing in line, you've got a fairly captive audience. You've also got a bit of an inkling as to what they might like and what they might not like. So put a sign on it. Put a special board. I know some of you are doing it, but even if you have, A3 posters like that, they don't have to be fancy, just with different meal options on them, and you can put that out. You can try different ones and see how they go. But if we're going to be true to the spirit of getting a bit cleverer with what we do, when a kid's making a decision about what they're going to have at the tuck shop, okay, some of them I'm sure it's when they get into the line, but I remember when I was at school, when I was sitting in class and I had tuck shop that day and I was watching that minute hand crawl around at the end of class, that's when I was planning what I was going to have for tuck shop. Can we get in and get the decision earlier? Okay, we probably can't get into the classroom. Maybe you can. If you can, that's great. But oftentimes there's a particular hallway that leads out where everyone funnels through. Can we get into that hallway? Can we put that poster there so that we get them a little bit before the smell of the pastry of the sausage roll hits in? Maybe we can get in just that bit sooner. The next one I want to look at is Ambien Advertising. And advertising creators love working on this because it's fun and people seem to enjoy it. Let's go through the examples, okay? The one on the far left is it's for a casino and it's at an airport. Okay, that's a luggage carousel and it's painted to look like all those numbers. The bag drops down, you get your number. Is it moral? I don't know, probably not. But if you're in town for a holiday, for a weekend, and you quite like casinos in that land, you might be induced to go visit the casino. The one beside it, the parking space, is for Jeep. Now Jeeps are famous for going anywhere. So they've just put parking spaces in really strange places, like on steps, on rocks, and going up the side of walls. If you like Jeep and you like that sort of thing, it's going to resonate with you. The one at the bottom there of the urinal, and I know some schools have actually tried this, but in nightclubs, it's a huge problem of wee on the floor in the men's room. Massive problem. They put targets in urinals, and this isn't about getting a message across, this is about changing behaviour. Wee on the floor decreases significantly. The one at the very top is just a small one. It's a good example of guerrilla marketing. So it's taking something that's out there and then changing it to suit yourself. So the one at the top with the guy running for the exit, that's a normal exit sign. The sticker behind it is for a deodorant called Axe. It's called Links out here, and it's the idea you put it on and girls will chase you. All they've done is put girls chasing that guy to the exit sign. So suddenly they're taking something that's there. Look, there's one right behind us. That could be turned into an ad for the Links deodorant, just like that. Our friends at McDonald's, you've got lunchtime, leaving work, going for lunch. You can make a pedestrian crossing look like French fries. And the top one for Kit Kat. There's something about those Kit Kat fingers, and I did work on Kit Kat for a little while, and it's very seductive to people who like chocolate and Kit Kat. So they take a park bench, and they make the palings look like the chocolate fingers. And if you're sitting down for a break, and you like Kit Kats, you put the two together, you're probably going to get somewhere. I'm not here to cast sort of moral aspersions on whether they're right or wrong. I'm just here to show you what they're doing, and see if you guys can actually use some of that for your own good. What can we do from a school tuck shop point of view? Is there a situation where we know what a student is going to be thinking and we can actually augment that to a degree? And this is a fact. What you eat affects your hair. Okay? You eat rubbish food, your hair is going to be a bit more limp and a bit more dank. If you eat healthy food, your hair is going to be healthier, grow better, be more lustrous. Where's the situation where we know that high school girls might be thinking about their hair? In school toilets, if they're looking in the mirror. So can we use that maybe use it in the boys' room as well, I'm not sure. Look, you take the biggest, healthiest 80s blonde and brunette hair you can find, you put it on the mirror, it's going to be hard for them not to engage with. But if you can also deliver the message at the same time, that if you eat healthy food, you're more likely to have beautiful, healthy hair, maybe you'll put the two together. So there's a little sign there that says, healthy lunch equals killer hair, and it says underneath that you are what you eat, including your hair. Sell a box of milk, $5.50. Will it work? I don't know, there's no guarantee, but it's about improving the odds. Reinventing. It's just taking something and you don't change the product one iota, you just do something to change its perception. Okay, Coca-Cola are masters of this. Coca-Cola hasn't changed in 150 years or something. Yet every year there's a new shaped can or a new shaped bottle or something, a reason to re-engage with Coke. That's a really obvious example. McDonald's, again. They've taken the idea of a hamburger, chips, and a cheap plastic toy and turned it into happiness in a box. It's a Happy Meal now. That's repackaging, that's changing the perception of it. It's scary. The example I had on the right was a video. I'll just describe it really quickly what it was. It was for Tontine, and some of you may have seen it a few years ago. Tontine began putting a use-by-date stamp on their pillows. And they did it by saying there's all sorts of germs and the entire ecosystem in your pillows. Okay, they didn't change the formation of the pillow, the fabric of the pillow, the production of the pillow. They didn't change anything about the pillow except they put a stamp on it. Suddenly, you have people seeing the advertising that was going out and reading about it in the newspaper, running out, getting rid of their old pillow because it's full of germs, right? And buying a new pillow. And they were buying a new pillow with a date stamp on it. So again, can we change the perception without changing the product? From a touch-up point of view, okay, I got this off the internet. I don't know, whoever's menu it is might be here. I took the school name off it, but what can we do? Again, I know you're pressed for time. I know the option of changing the menu willy-nilly isn't really there for you. But can we take the menu items and repackage them somehow? So if you look on the top right-hand corner there, it's, I think, a bit blurry, but it says barbecue and tomato sauce sachets, 15 cents. What if we were to take that space and use it for something else? We were to package up all the meals in there that are high protein, low in fat, and have low GI carbs. And let's pretend we're in a boys' high school or a co-ed high school and football season has just started. Can we call it the high performance menu? Put a picture of a rugby player on there. Suddenly we're talking a language that teenage boys might actually acknowledge. We might just get them across the line, we might improve the odds. You can do it with other things. If you're coming up to exam time, can you change it again? Suddenly it's the brain food menu or the energizer menu. Same food, just organised a little bit differently and repackaged. I know that for little kids especially, when my daughter goes to school, they have sushi. I haven't had sushi, but they've got sushi. And it's hugely popular, and it's a bit interesting and a bit different. You look at any school menu, there's things that could come together into the international menu. And for little kids, that's really exciting. It's a bit exotic and a bit different. So again, they're just examples. You might have a different take on it that you can do. The last thing I'm going to look at in this receptivity marketing section is media planning. And media planning is pretty basic. Where do you want your ad? Where most people are going to see it, right? And back in the day, if you were selling house and land packages like that, where would you want the billboard? On the busiest road. But now there's another level to it, because it's not just the busy road. You've got to think about how the people driving on that road are receiving it. If it's facing them on the way to work, they're in I'm on my way to work mode. They've got their head down, they're thinking about the day ahead, they're not particularly happy about it maybe. They're not really focused on buying a new house. If you have it facing them on the way home, they're in a completely different mindset. They've had a good day at work, they're feeling good, things are going their way. Yeah, maybe I will look at moving house. Maybe they've had a bad day. They're not happy, they're disgruntled, they want to change something. This is something they can change. Just improving the odds. Another example, Griffith University is a client of ours. Why would Griffith advertise in gyms? Doesn't really make sense. And two, we know that in gyms, people feel they've got control over their lives. When people are in a gym, they feel like they're doing something proactive, they're taking control, they're enabling their life. There's endorphins running. When you do exercise, you feel good. You feel like you can achieve anything. So maybe you can even go back to university. So again, media planning isn't what it used to be. It's about thinking of where people are and what's going through their mind when they see the message you've got. How can we do this for tuck shops? Again, a lot of advertising is just getting the basics right. And I know a lot of you will do this anyway, but we've got to talk to parents, we know that. I mean, they're making the entire decision for younger kids, whether it's a brown bag, whether it's online, but even older kids, they're influencing. Here's your lunch menu, make sure you don't buy that, buy this. If we can get to parents, we're in a good place. Our school, I don't know names, but it's got, I won't bring it out, it's the school newsletter. And in that is half the page dedicated to the Dolomites, which is a Commonwealth Bank initiative, right? But in the back is the tuck shop section, and all in the tuck shop section, all it does is who's on tuck shop duty that week. That's a real waste of space, I think. That's a chance for you to get a message to parents about healthy options. A lot of schools are using Facebook pages as well now, and that's great. Facebook parents will check every day. Media statistics on Facebook are interesting. Teens are very high consumers, but I think the second highest consumer group of Facebook are stay-at-home mums. Go on Facebook a lot and they'll check it. And the thing about Facebook is you can update that message every day. So it doesn't need to be something you plan the week before or the month before. It's something you can plan literally the day before and get the message out there. But again, in the spirit of trying to do something a little bit more than the obvious, where can we put our message and really get someone's mindset when it works? This is a perfect situation, isn't it? So the parent is up making lunch for the child for that day. Everybody's happy, everything's good, everything's relaxed. But that's probably more the reality of most parents. Mum and dad running around like crazy, trying to get ready for work. Whichever parent's making the lunch is probably trying to do two things at once, thinking of the day ahead. And in an ideal world, what happens is the child comes home in the afternoon, the lunchbox comes out, it gets cleaned. Probably doesn't happen. What might happen normally is the lunchbox doesn't come out until the next morning when you're making the lunch for that day and you see what you're throwing out. What if we could get a message into that lunchbox? Okay? What if we gave the kids something to put in their lunchbox each day so that when mum or dad is making the lunch the next day, they open up the lunchbox, they're frazzled, and there's a sign in there, and maybe it says, Friday is Healthy Wraps Friday, $3.50. That parent might just think, yeah, okay, here's $3.50, get yourself a healthy wrap. Okay, it's not perfect, it's not foolproof, it's just about improving the odds. Why I think it works for you guys is because one size doesn't fit all when it comes to schools. Those two kids there, a prep kid and a kid about to graduate, apart from the fact that they're wearing school uniforms, they are completely different species. You've got to approach them in different ways. We don't have the time today to look at specific psychographics of kids versus older kids, young kids versus older kids. But what we can do is understand if we can get them and understand what they're thinking and try and induce them to make a healthier choice, and then we can leverage that with the message, we might get somewhere. Okay, the last thing to look at is a thing called big data. And you can't open an advertising or marketing magazine at the moment without seeing big data played out here. What is it? It's probably the tricky one to understand. It's serving. This is all about serving the right message to the right person at the right time, which is probably the theme of today. And big data helps that by analysing massive amounts of data behind the scenes. So info about spending. Every time you use that Flybuys card, Coles knows exactly what you're buying. And more than that, they know when you're buying it, and more than that, they know if that pattern changes. So they've got software programs there to go, hang on, they don't normally buy that, there's something changed in their life. Web habits, we've already talked about. Music preferences, Apple knows what music you're downloading if you use iTunes. Images you post, Facebook knows an extraordinary amount about people. The images you post are being trawled for information. If you're posting lots of images about food, chances are you like food. If you're posting lots of holiday pictures, you probably like travel. This is information that's available to advertisers. So when they go to Facebook and they're Qantas and they say, hey, we want to target people who like travel, Facebook go, oh, we know just the people you need. Ads you click on. If you ever click on a banner ad or an MREC they're called, so you're on a website, you see those ads around. If you click on one of those, that's a lot of information for an advertiser. I just want to say to you, it's not like there's one hot approach not like there's an evil overlord overseeing this. These are individual companies collecting their own data. But just keep an eye on Google quietly. I don't really trust Google. But the other thing IP addresses we want, and this isn't about understanding just what you've done, it's about being able to predict what you're going to want in the future. Probably the best example I can find, and it's not a particularly pleasant example by any stretch, but this is what you're dealing with out there at the moment, is Target figured out a girl was pregnant before her father did, and this is in the USA, and this is pretty scary. So Target analysed everything everyone buys through their loyalty card. They know that women who are pregnant or trying to become pregnant, they know there's a change in their buying habits. They buy more indulgent products, skincare, lotions, creams, things like that. So if a girl starts buying these things suddenly and hasn't before, there's a pretty good chance she's either pregnant or trying to become pregnant, and they can start feeding her particular messages about maternity wear and things like that. And that's what happened in this case. And I think this girl's father saw the ad she was getting, and it blew the lid. So this was a famous case in the USA, and it was famous because the question was asked whether it's all getting a bit too big brother. I've heard, society decide that. But it's information that can be used. And like I said at the start, I want this about how can we take that, instead of letting advertisers use it to achieve their means, can we use it to achieve better means by getting kids to eat healthier? Another example is Facebook. If you're on it, you'll recognise the screen. If you're not, what happens is, in the middle there is all your friends, all their activities come up so you can monitor what they're doing, and on the right-hand side is paid advertising. So the one I've circled there is for a car. It's the Honda City, and it says, "Feel the city pulse now." As I said before, what Honda would have done is they would have gone to Facebook, and they would have said, "We want to talk to families because it's a family car. Parents who have got kids, and preferably if they're, living near the city, because it's a city family car, let's call it that." So far, so typical, but what's also going on is Honda probably have about 15 different versions of that one ad, with different words and different pictures. And what's going on is they're analysing in real time, is a term we use. That means it's live, it means you don't take the data away and analyse it for a week and come back. This is going on as it happens. They're seeing who's clicking on what ad, and from that they're working out what's the best combination of words and pictures for this particular person. And once the software works that out, boom, it starts serving those ads to those sorts of people. So this is what I mean. What's going on behind the scenes is amazing. It's a little bit terrifying, but it's what's going on right now. Why it's relevant to the school tuck-shop point of view? It's improving the odds. Like I said, the theme today is how can we improve the odds? How can we give the best chance of a particular student buying a healthy option instead of an unhealthy option at the tuck shop? What we want to do is create that, that's just what I was after experience. The example that's used in advertising is being there selling the umbrella just as someone walks out and it starts to rain. You get that, that's just what I was looking for. That might seem completely accidental to the consumer, but it's not. You've seen what's going on behind the scenes to make that happen. Can we do something from a school point of view around big data? You don't have access to big data. Some of you are digitised, and that's getting a bit more data. As people swipe, you know what's going on, but some of you aren't. So let's call it a small data experiment. Let's look at the minimum amount of data you might need to get something going. So if it's just money in the till each day, I know some of it's just cash box and money in, but if even every day you know how much money you've made, that's something you can work with. So you might work out that Friday is a peak tuck shop day, and looking at the research it seems that Friday is a peak tuck shop day. Straight away you can use that. If you've got a particular meal or a healthy daily special that does well, that's the one you should serve on the Friday. You're getting more kids to the tuck shop on Friday, but they're not necessarily buying healthy food. What you can do is try and influence the greatest number of kids at that time to buy healthier food. If you monitor stock levels, so if you know how much of what item is being sold each day, that's more information you can use. So let's, for example, say that airpot popcorn, which is a green food, is selling pretty well. So of all the healthy options, it does pretty well. If you know that, and you know that Friday is the day that more kids are coming to the tuck shop, I know what I'd do if I was you, and I'm not even sure if you're in a position to do this. I'd make my Friday special built around that. So buy this chicken and salad wrap, and you get the popcorn free. Most number of kids on a Friday, we know they quite like this popcorn. It might be just enough to get them over the line and go, yeah, that's what I'll get. That sounds pretty good. I get my popcorn that I like for free, and okay, salad wrap, fine. It's about improving the odds. Actually, the other thing too is don't forget where that media goes. So yes, you can do that at the tuck shop, but we know that parents are big influencers, and parents are sometimes making the decision. So if you know that Friday is the day that they're going to send their kids off with tuck shop money or make the order, and you know that parents probably want to do the right thing by their kids, get the message out there, get it out to them on Thursday night via Facebook, or get it into that week's newsletter if that's what you're going to try. A bit of data or a bit of information that I don't think anyone would have thought of collecting is weather. And it's interesting because weather affects what you want to eat. When it's boiling hot, you don't want to eat something hot. When it's cold and raining, you don't want to eat a nice crisp salad. You want something warming. You could theoretically, and this is just theoretically, I know the realities of the time pressure on you, you could theoretically get to a point using all of this data where you know what meal is going to be best on a particular day out of your healthy range. So if it's Wednesday and it's raining and it's 17 degrees, that's the day to serve pumpkin soup. That's the meal that's going to have the best chance of getting kids to go, yeah, that's just what I feel like today. Kids thinking, I fancy that, but we know we've actually used the data to get to that decision. Is it something you can try? I was talking before, you've got daily specials boards. You've got the opportunity, schools have the resources, of making A3 posters. Imagine if you had 15 A3 posters of your 15 healthy food choices. And on any one day, you can use the data, or you know what, you can even just use your intuition. You know what's being sold, you know what kids are buying, you know what they're more inclined to buy. So if you get up that day and you go, actually it's 35 degrees today and it's blisteringly hot, the humidity's up, I'm going to put this sign out in front of the tuck shop. It doesn't need to be a special. You know, when you go into the supermarket, these things aren't always on special. They're spontaneous buys because it's just putting them in front of you and you're thinking, yeah, I'll buy that. It's improving the odds, so something you could try possibly. That's small data. Imagine if you could all pool this data into one central pot. Then actually you do have a big data opportunity. Every bit of information from every tuck shop in Queensland, it would paint a hell of a picture as to what kids are eating and what healthy options they're more likely to choose and when. Of course, though, that would need a body to coordinate it and potentially fund it. Don't want to make any untoward suggestions, just saying. Just a thought. Just a thought. So they're the three things I've been through, and again, I'm just talking about improving the odds. A little bit about what goes on behind the scenes in advertising. It's not always particularly pleasant. Should I say marketing? So I work in advertising, marketing are the really good ones. But it's what's going on, and I guess the opportunity there is to get irate about it. The opportunity is there to protect yourself about it, which I think you should. But the opportunity is also there to take that and see if you can use it for good instead of for feathering the pockets of a marketing brand. Two things I think you can do though, going back from today. First thing is just record some data. It can be as simple as a hand-filled out chart like this. Okay, I know time is a big issue, but if you just have this one bit of information, it's really helpful. I mean, if nothing else, to just confirm or deny what you think is being sold in a tuck shop each day. Some of you I know are already taking this, some of you have digital systems that are already doing this automatically. So the other thing is use that data. So that picture there on the right, you're not meant to be able to read it. It's a school calendar. And so that marks what time of year, what's going on at different times of the year, holiday periods, sports seasons, when exams are, that sort of thing. If you can take your data, put it together with what's going on in the school year, so kids come back from holidays, they're more likely to try something new when they come back from holidays. Just before exams, they're feeling stressed. They're not really into rich food. They want something that's going to, not upset their stomach. So this is all sorts of information you can use either by collecting data or even just on your own intuition to come up with different suggestions you can make each day. And just treat it as a little experiment. You can make up the posters, A3 laminated posters. You can use your specials boards. You can even use Facebook if that's how you're communicating with your parents. Just try a few things. And that actually brings me to the second thing I think you can do is just try something. In advertising today, it used to be this drawn-out sort of 6-month process where nothing would get done until it was tried and tested a million times. Nowadays, there's a tendency to just try something. There's a saying in advertising, which is experiment fast, experiment cheap. And what that means is if it's something you can do quickly and it's something you can do relatively cheaply, just try it. There's nothing to lose. Get it out there and see what happens. That's been probably the biggest shift in advertising in the last few years. Is lots of companies, all those ones that start, they're just trying something and they're seeing what happens. It could be one of the things we talked about, it could be something completely different, but just try something. I'd love to know if any of you do try something. Please let me know. Also have my email, or you can look it up in the Junior Our Advertising Agency website. If you try something, let me know if it worked or if it doesn't work. It's really interesting to me. So I'll finish it now. Thank you very much for having me, and good luck.